Hey guys, Zane here, and I want to welcome you to the very first episode of the Imperium Report. Now this new video series is going to be replacing the old written monthly reports and provide you guys with news and information, everything that you need to know to keep up to date with the happenings in the Imperium fleet. You may have seen a teaser for this video included with the yearly report back at the beginning of January, but now the first full episode is here, and we're hoping to get 2016 off to a great start. So without further ado, let's jump into some community news for you guys. Everything that I mentioned here in the news will be linked for you in the text post associated with this video. Like the fact that the year in review, as I mentioned, was published back in early January, and you can find that link, as I mentioned, in the text post below, as well as the teaser for this very video series that you're watching now. So if you missed that, definitely go check it out. There's an interview with Core and Ostia where we talk about why we're doing this, why we made the change from the old monthly reports to the new Imperium report. Hopefully you guys will dig it. Also, new information for units, unit structure, unit leadership, everything about the way Imperium does units has continued to be updated and streamlined. You can find a link to that in the post below. And Imperium Flight Events are happening Thursdays at 20 UTC and Sundays at 1500 UTC. You can find more information about that at the link below as well. And our SCB Community Meetings take place every other Saturday at 2100 UTC. The next one will be on the 6th of February, so do try to hang out on TS for that. If you would like to submit Star Citizen footage for us to use in these videos, please do so. Please do so. You can find more information on that in the text post associated with this video, and give us your cool Star Citizen footage to run in the background, so people have something more interesting than just the sound of my voice, because no one wants, just that. All right, to kick things off, we have got an interview with Fleet Command. And let's go ahead and get to that interview now. Imperium's Fleet Command is responsible for the oversight and operation of all Imperium's divisions. This includes coordinating divisional officers, task management, keeping the SCB site and forums running smoothly, and continuing to improve on current fleet structures, web infrastructure, and community interaction. Obviously, they need the help of all our divisional staff to accomplish these things, but before we move into interviews with them, we sat down with members of Fleet Command. Gallatin was going to be here, but unfortunately he is laid up with a broken ankle, but I do have Ostia and Core to discuss what Fleet Command is currently working on. How you doing, guys?
Hi there.
Hello. All right, so let's start with the basics. Can you give us a little bit of history about Imperium, how the fleet got started?
Well, I haven't been around since the beginning of Imperium, but I do know that Imperium originally grew out of a Star Citizen community called Star Citizen Base. This community actually grew very quickly since the original announcement of Star Citizen, and Gallatin immediately saw that there was a lot of people on that community that actually wanted some kind of structure in the form of an organization. Now, out of that grew Imperium, and very quickly, with its anti-piracy stance, it garnered a lot of interest, and that's about all the history I know.
Yeah, so like Core, I didn't join Imperium at the very, very beginning. I joined back in April of 2013, and back then Imperium was about 400-ish members, but we didn't have a lot of information about what Star Citizen would actually be. We weren't very organized. We had a general sense of what we wanted to do in Star Citizen, but since then, we learned a lot about the game, and we dedicated ourselves really to being prepared and organized for when release comes. So today's Imperium is, over 4,000 primary affiliations strong, and we have 10 different divisions that are extremely organized and keep us running, efficiently. So we're very proud of that fact, but it hasn't been, it wasn't something that just came simply. It took a lot of work and dedication, so we're really proud of all the members who's helped out over those 3 years.
All right, well, my next question was for Gallatin, but since he's still recovering, maybe you guys could fill us in on what it is that Gallatin does around here to keep Imperium and SCB up and running.
Well, as I mentioned before, Gallatin is the official owner of Star Citizen Base and also of Imperium. He stays involved with a lot of the same projects that we as sub-commanders and the rest of FC are involved in. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Besides the day-to-day of Imperium, he also makes sure that the servers, the forums, the websites, TeamSpeak, and the portal keep running smoothly. And beyond that, he is still the biggest donor to the continued operations of both Star Citizen Base and Imperium. Unfortunately, our monthly donations that we are currently receiving from members don't yet cover half the monthly costs. But luckily, Gallatin is generous enough to split the difference.
That's very cool. So how do you guys, Core, Ostia, and the other sub-commanders of the fleet assist Gallatin and all that?
So officially, every sub-commander runs their own division, but every sub-commander is also aware of how to run every other division in case there's ever a need. So in short, we run the day-to-day operations of Imperium. And we make sure that the projects that we coordinate meet their deadline, or at least we try to. Right? We're all volunteers, and so sometimes beggars can't be choosers, right? But usually there are a lot of projects going on, and they have a fair amount of moving parts. So it's a little bit of effort to coordinate everything and make sure that everything gets done on time. But for most of the time, everything is done on schedule.
All right, so for people who might not be aware, do you want to just run through who the different sub-commanders are and the divisions they handle?
Sure. Yeah, Core handles the primary divisions, so that's the military, exploration, trade and industry, and operations. Dragar handles our HR division, Chimera handles our diplomacy division, I handle our intelligence division, and Joram Darkblade is our Asian rep.
Walk me through an average week for a sub-commander. What are you guys doing?
All right, an average week starts with our officer meetings. Every 2 weeks, like clockwork, we have officer meetings on Saturday at 2200 UTC. Usually this sets the tone for how the next 2 weeks or even the next 4 weeks are going to go, because the projects that we usually set out are supposed to meet certain deadlines in those times. The officer meetings are purely there to make sure that the officers can give feedback and progress on the projects that they're running. And as such, officers are also informed of all the projects that other officers are in charge of and running. This way we make sure that all the projects and everyone and every single officer is aware of what's going on at any given time, because they might be asked to help out, or they might be asked to join in, or they might be tasked with taking over the project in case someone gets sick. Now, for most of these, we try to make sure that we keep it all on a very level-headed schedule, because everyone, like Ostia said, everyone here is volunteers and no one's getting paid. So we try to make sure that people who need more time get more time, and as sub-commanders, we try to make sure that we're always there to support or field questions or fill in the gaps wherever necessary. This is how sometimes, a smaller meeting with just several officers could turn from a brainstorming session into an actual full-on put everything down on paper session. Besides the division projects, as I mentioned before, there are many ongoing longer-term projects that we as FC stay on top of. The problem with these projects is that they have many, many more moving parts than the regular projects do. This usually means that these projects take a lot more time to complete. I mean, one such example could be the radio advertisements or the video, the recruitment video that we're currently working on. They take a lot more time because there are a lot more people involved, and since we're still all working with volunteers, they're just projects that take a longer term. Now, besides those, we've also got things like the mission system, like the unit system. These are all projects that include a lot of people and require a lot of effort to coordinate. But as we try very hard, we manage to keep most things on schedule.
Yeah, as another point to Core is, I just think that as FC, either a week is going to go really, really well and easy, or it's going to go really, really busy or poorly, or not the way you envisioned it. So sometimes we have weeks where everything is running smoothly, no problems, everything's according to plan, and we can just come home from our daily routines and play games and hang out with the rest of the people from Imperium. Or it goes the other way and we come home and it's like just another work day on top of it, only is fleet-related stuff. So it can go both ways, but either way, it's pretty rewarding and fun.
Luckily, lately we've been having a little bit more free time than before. I can remember periods of a year ago where there was no free time. There was only Imperium for months on end. Luckily, we're a lot more structured now.
All right, so I know you guys always have a lot going on at once, but what's next on the list? What's the next big project that you can tell us about?
So the last project that was just completed actually was the unit system. So that just received an overhaul along with unit support staff and the tools that they'll need. So that was kind of the latest larger project portal-wise. So that was the tech team working on that along with unit support staff. And they kind of worked together to come up with a solution that will work for them to keep units organized and to improve on, how units display information, how people can join them and find one that will suit their needs. So that was the last one. The next thing that we're going to be doing is looking at the mission system. And now the mission system is something that we've been wanting to get to for a while, but there are a lot of secondary systems that mission system will rely on. For example, the member system that was rolled out when we redid the fleet structure, so that one's already in place. Another system that it'll rely on is the certification system, which is currently being worked on by the tech team in the academy. And then another system that will be necessary is going to be the mapping system, which is being worked on by operations, exploration, and obviously the tech team again. One last system that's being worked on also for the mission system is the ship system. So keeping track of all your ships and things like that, that'll be also very necessary to have the mission system working properly. So all those things need to be done first, but they're all part of it. So by themselves, they bring a certain amount of tools and usability to the portal that wasn't there before. But together, they will form the groundwork for what the mission system is. So, for example, your user or your membership within Imperium or on SCB ties into the mission system. The mapping system will help you when creating missions to point to where these missions will take place, as well as help notify you based on that mapping system what systems are currently under threat, or you would know if it would be ill-advised to go there without a military presence, as well as the academy system, which is necessary for you to have certain certifications to run higher level missions. So all those things will kind of come into play when we're dealing with the mission system, but we are getting there slowly but surely.
That sounds very handy. All right, guys, I think we have gotten off to a great start here with the first episode of the Imperium Report. But what should we expect from our next interview series?
Well, we hope to give you a bit of a glimpse into the role of Imperium and on upcoming developments and insight on how we do things. So far, the schedule, while subject to change, is showing that the next interviews will be with the primary divisions. This includes military, exploration, trade and industry, and operations.
All right, I want to once again thank Ostia and Core for sitting down with me with that interview. Thank you to both of them. And moving right along, our next interview is going to be with the Diplomacy Division. This month we wanted to highlight Imperium's Diplomacy Division, which is responsible for reaching out to like-minded organizations to facilitate agreements and treaties that will further our interests in relation to overall security and trade. Diplomacy is the central point of contact for all other organizations in regards to inter-organizational relations and conflict resolution. We sat down with Chimera and Juntao to discuss what the diplomacy team is currently working on. Hi, guys.
Hey, good evening. I'm sitting here in Hong Kong. I'd just like to say hi to everybody from one side of the world.
That's funny because I'm on the other side of the world. Hi.
All right, so what exactly is the purpose of a diplomacy division at this stage in the game's development?
Well, its primary point is to act as a point of contact for other organizations. When organizations come onto the SCB website and go to the Imperium Embassy, they will generally put up a embassy post introducing their organization and want to talk to us, so we'll chat with them. We also will actively look for other organizations that we think would be valid friends or allies in the future. And we also help with dealing with inter-organizational conflict. So if we have a person who's messing up on RSI, or if somebody has offended another organization, they can talk to us and we'll try to see if it's worth handling. And then there's a lot of other stuff that I could talk about, but it's extremely boring. But what it boils down to is also finally trying to make sure that we are ready when the game comes out with as many green dots as friends as we can.
All right, that makes sense. But right now, I mean, the game doesn't exist yet. So what makes up the bulk of the work that you guys are currently doing?
Well, currently, the diplomacy division is relatively busy sifting through the 10,000 plus organizations registered on RSI to try to identify these potential allies or adversaries one way or the other, document them. It's important for us to spend time on TeamSpeak. We do have organizations that are registered through the Star Citizen Base forums that will frequently come into TeamSpeak looking to ask questions. We also deal with interorganizational issues as far as potential members for any organization that could cause issues, members that we have identified as problems that will bounce from one organization to another within our circle of friends. And we also field a lot of questions about potential alliances or working relationships with other organizations.
Okay, well, what exactly would constitute an alliance? Are there different types of alliances?
There's different types of alliances based off of different potential factors in the game, and so what we've done is put on the SCB portal that we have the different types of alliances and treaties that are available, and every one of those it actually shows what we're looking for, and it can be divided up into different pieces. So let's say there's an organization that would like to have an alliance that is both one that's military and trade related. We can help them, we can decide if they actually will fit with us and then try to set something up. And we can also kind of conceptualize with some of our closer friends what our future of alliances will look like. I mean, right now everybody seems to think of EVE alliances where you'd have multiple corporations that would be automatically jumping to the assistance of each other because of the dynamics of the game. Well, we don't know what the game's alliance dynamics are going to look like, so we have to kind of operate outside of it. And it could be potentially that it's similar to EVE, or it could be something where we have a lot more ability to decide if a friend of ours that's, quote, in an alliance with us has a conflict, do we actually want to jump into it or not? So it's up to RSI right now. It's up to the guys at SIG how they're going to let us move forward with it. So for now, we just are conceptualizing outside of the game.
Okay, but how does Imperium handle relationships with other organizations that aren't part of any of these alliance structures?
Well, currently, as stated before, we're in the process of identifying potential allies. So the most basic step to make with any or other organization that could be a potential benefit to Imperium in the future is to discuss low-level treaties, such as non-aggression. We really haven't gotten too far into very complex treaties, but they are on the docket. So generally at this point, we will say Organization A wants to be a friend with Imperium. We'll discuss it. We'll see if their values and our values are aligned. And then we will work on drafting a treaty that benefits both organizations, obviously leaning more towards the benefit of Imperium. But that's basically where we're at this time.
All right, so is Imperium currently in any alliances or have any treaties with other organizations?
Imperium is currently in an alliance in a more traditional sense with the group called Armed, which is the Australasian Mercenary Division. It has a very Royal Mercenary Division. There we go. Yes. Australasian Royal Mercenary Division. It's a PMC that is largely Australian and Malaysian, and we're in an alliance with them primarily due to the fact that we know that we're going to be very light in our coverage during that particular time frame. And we have members of Imperium who used to be a part of the Armed community, which is a multi-gaming community overall. And so we've had a close relationship with them for quite a long time, including one of our sub-commanders, Jerome Darkblade, actually used to be a major part of the Armed group. So we've had a close relationship for a long time. We're also a part of Pact. And Pact is not your traditional form of an alliance. It's more of kind of like a alliance of discretion or an initiative. It's called the Pact Initiative because it doesn't require the individual members of the initiative to act in a standard alliance form. It's more of a collection of organizations that might come together for specific actions in the game. Like, as an example, let's say there's a pirate organization that has been causing a lot of problems in a specific system or sector. Pact may decide that it is in the best interest overall of all of the organizations in Pact to kind of declare a multilateral war against them. So that would be considered as a Pact initiated war, and that's basically the way that Pact works. If anybody would like to know what different treaties that we actually have outside of the different alliances, like with Armed and the initiative with Pact, they can actually check our diplomacy portal. The diplomacy portal is public for everybody, so anyone who is a member of Imperium or a member of SCB can actually check and see what our relationships are. There are some that we do not have currently posted or publicized because of the requests of the organizations involved, but as we get approval, we will put them up on our portal.
All right, so let's say an organization approaches Imperium. What exactly does it take to either join an alliance or form a treaty? And what are the pros and cons of that?
Well, the process generally goes, an organization will come to us, we will speak with them, we will take a look at their organizational page, we will spend a lot of time talking with their diplomats, and we will decide which form or forms of treaty arrangements will be the best ones for both Imperium and for that organization. You can't get anything without giving a little bit of something. For the majority of them, we go for a standard non-aggression pact, which is basically a very wordy way of saying, I don't shoot you, you don't shoot me, and that's it. But if we have some organizations that are a lot more close with us, like as an example would be the group Tactical Advance. They are kind of like one of our best pre-game friends. We have a bit more of a stronger arrangement with them that we say we see ourselves, once the game comes out, being willing to come to each other's aid. So we have a mutual defense agreement with them. And all of these different types of things get discussed among the diplomats and sometimes even the top leadership, in our case like Gallatin or the rest of Fleet Command, as to whether or not we want to sign a document in that commits Imperium to that type of an arrangement. And if it gets approved on both sides, then it's signed. The positives of this is that Imperium members actually get to have the knowledge that they will be jumping into their ships once the game comes out, and assuming that there's a targeting system or an org entrance system or an affiliation system that actually allows us to all interconnect with each other, we'll be able to know that a person from X organization is not going to be a problem when we are flying through the same sector or instance of space. The con is that a lot of times when you're having to deal with different organizations, you might have to not shoot at somebody that you would like to shoot at. I mean, that's basically it. So there's not a lot of cons and there's a lot of pros. You get to make sure you're not going to be shot at, and you don't get to shoot at somebody who you might be annoyed at. Oh well, who cares? Move on.
Makes sense to me. So lastly, what can the average Imperium member do to help out the diplomacy division?
Well, at this point in time, and going further into the future with the release of the Persistent Universe, it's going to be very important for Imperium members to make sure that they follow the Code of Conduct. And the rule number one, if you don't know what it is, you need to read the Code of Conduct. It's very important that you treat all people in the game with respect. If you come across organizations that you think would be a possible fit that we may have overlooked, please contact the diplomacy officers and let us know what you think, and we'll look into that. And the biggest thing that people could do is, as the game goes forward and the Imperium and the Star Citizen community grows, we could use some help. So if you think you have the ability to have civilized conversations, determine what would be beneficial for the organization as far as friends and foes, then we would encourage you to volunteer as a diplomat.
All right, well, thank you very much, guys. I think this will give our members a much better idea of what exactly is going on in diplomacy and what is how diplomacy helps out the fleet as a whole. So thank you both very much.
Nope, thank you for having us.
Yep, it's been a pleasure.
All right, that about wraps it up for this first Imperium report. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Give us your feedback. Let us know what we're doing right, what you'd like to see done differently. If you enjoyed it, if you didn't, we want to hear it all. Just let us know. Let your voice be heard, because we're doing this for you guys, and we want you to like it. So let us know. Let us know what we can do differently. And thank you once again for joining me. This has been the Imperium Report.